we want to drill into, I suppose, what you think about those better employers, because when we think about the finance sector, there are some really bad and mean bosses who aren't necessarily doing the right thing when it comes to initiatives that will support working women. But we know that there are some that are really leading the way and are looking for progressive ways of addressing these issues. So what do you think about the best employers when it comes to the way in which they're thinking about their female workforce? What do those bosses have in common? And is there anything that you think that's a bit unique about them?
Yeah, I think the thing that they have in common and is unique about them is that they've generally got highly unionised workforces. Because I think it's union members and organised workers that deliver better bosses. And so I think that's the key characteristic, because I think, and I suppose it's not just being unionised, but it's also then about having the capacity to influence how the organisation or the enterprise that you work for operates. And if you're unionised and you're able to do that collectively and talk together about, well, what are the things that we need to make this a good workplace and to deal with, both the quality of our jobs and our pay and conditions, but also the things we were just talking about how much it recognises that we're human beings and have other responsibilities as well, then it's about having unionised workplaces where there's then a commitment to consultation and negotiation with workers collectively, so that you don't have that sort of hierarchy where basically, there's either a good person or a bad person at the top, and depending on the whim or their mood of the day or whether they stay in their job for long, you then see what happens in the workplace. That's fraught with danger for workers, because if it's reliant on the personality of one person, then your rights should not be that fragile that, if that person gets sacked tomorrow or disappears into a different job, suddenly it's up for grabs again what sort of workplace you have and whether people are treated with dignity and respect and have fair conditions. So I think both being organised in a union, but then having good structures that give workers and their union the right to be heard and influence decision making is the other thing that I think makes for the best employers for women. And of course, that means that our unions have to have women's voices in them as well. So we've got to make sure that when we're electing delegates and that when we're organising workers, that we've got a real eye for that too, that we've got to make sure that we walk the walk and talk the talk ourselves. So we have to make sure that our processes are really inclusive and that we make sure that the voice of women workers is heard in our union decision making and structure, so that we then put forward what those issues are when we're negotiating with the employers. The other thing I'd say is that what makes the other thing that I think better employers have in common is they understand both the moral and the business case for having a more gender equal workplace, like that they sort of get it, that it's a better quality of work that you get out of people, where you treat people well and you have more equal treatment of women and men. And also, this has been proven by all sorts of bits of research, they actually make more money and if their criteria is not about people but about profit or money, it's actually better for them to do it that way as well. That if you've got a more gender equal workplace, it actually ends up being a very successful strategy for an organisation or a business to have for their core purpose. So it's both good, but it also makes financial sense for them. I might leave it there. That one.
Yeah, thank you, Michelle. And I think when you were talking in terms of, having women in your union structures and making sure that you've got a good representation of women across your leadership at the FSU, that my experience, and this isn't to take away from anything that our male members have done, but I sometimes think about those female members who really rise up to the occasion, and they have been really passionate and fierce and great supporters of the union. So I think that having women in the ranks definitely pays off. I've seen them kind of at the front of the battles many, many times.